I take a walk every morning to go around the house into the wood area, and there was my neighbor, so we talked a bit. I was talking about my experience of catching fish, kingfish, trevally, but also meeting a big shark. Anyway, I went on looking around, a bird usually sitting in the tree or walking around me, and then came back. When I met the shark, that was when I was free diving just yesterday. Water was clear, beautiful. I thought maybe I'll catch fish. So I went down, and as I expected, there are a bunch of fish, kawaii, swimming around. And then I saw kingfish. I thought there may be bigger ones, so I waited. Eventually, I shot the kingfish, good size. A few weeks ago, I was doing the same diving and caught kingfish. At the time, the fish went into the kelp and it took time to take the fish out. And because of the commotion and the blood into the water, the two sharks came out. It took time to get the fish free from the kelp and the blood, and they come to see what's going on. I could fend off, but that was not so interesting, except the other experience that was okay. Clear water, big shark. But this time, the shark was bigger, maybe 4 meter plus, and the fat, and he didn't look so friendly and passing by when I had that trevally on my line, the spear gun. And when I saw him, I was afraid. He looked very determined and not coming to my way, to the side way, but that was enough for me to come back. I was thinking about death and the fear. Going through the Zen spirituality pursuit, even studying about what life and death is, or to go through religious or awakening experience, I thought I could handle death. But the fact that I felt fearful with this big shark, I have to revisit. One of the first thoughts is that, well, this pops up every now and then. When we have some emotional reaction, it's rooted by some experience in my younger days, whether it's anger or fear or joy. There's something triggering to indicate, and that's maybe very instinctive, especially when it comes to the danger like shark. The same thing with the snake or any dangerous animals. You feel emotional about it. And going through Zen and meditation and relating to life and death give me the sense of some equanimity, acceptance. But this emotional or instinctive response is natural, I think. We just have to deal with it. Then I thought about the samurai. There are people in Japan hundreds of years ago, maybe even closer to that. There was a guy named Musashi who had a duel. And I pictured him preparing for his duel, 1-to-1. And I think he killed 37 or maybe more people. And I could imagine, well, probably I couldn't, but I imagine how he may prepare mentally, physically, deep in his way, how to respond. And if you think about how to respond, it doesn't work because it's not natural. So you have to have all the preparation in terms of all the exercises and everything you can do to face. To be a master, you need to get everything not in the mind but to the body. That's the way I see it. So that the unconscious part can respond to the immediate need instead of wondering what to do. So fear is just the emotional response of what to do. Flight or fight, natural response. So Zen spiritual pursuit have the notion to deal with how to live and therefore how to die and to prepare, and with that resolution, if you can get, live your life. In this walk around the house into the wood and with the bird, I look at the trees, branches, and I thought about the story of Mihoko Okamura, who was with Daisetsu Suzuki. When Daisetsu died at age 96 or something, Okamura-san was with him, helping him, and then she went with Daisetsu to the hospital. He passed away, and she came back. And in his memoir, she was describing when she came back to the house where Daisetsu lived, and she found saying that, the garden is the same as before, as it is. And she could picture Daisetsu in the garden, in the trees, and everywhere. And there's nothing different, peaceful. That was her story, I remember. And that story popped up when I was walking around looking at the trees, branches, the bird. And one thought that popped up is that they are living the best they can, and they're not much worried about what other people are doing or the other trees and all that. They do their best living according to the mission, the best they can to find the destiny. Nothing more, nothing less. So Zen may be seen as not get into the mind and caught up, but free from that and connected to the root, the source of who we are, and do the best and nothing more, nothing less. In Okamura-san's story of Daisetsu, pointing that the Daisetsu lived, even she said that that Daisetsu, that's one of the book she wrote, he was alive, but he was dead in the sense of not being caught up in the mind, but freely living, perhaps like that expression of the garden Okamura-san mentioned. As it is, do the best, the trees, branches, bird, and just be. So the point of this video or voice memo, I guess, was about my encounter with a shark, big shark, and some fear, reflecting that that's a natural response, and then not to be caught up in that emotion, but let go of it and accept whatever comes and live the best we can, following the law of nature, connected to the source, and not to be tangled up in the mind created world. So be like a tree may not be a good analogy of this, but in a way, if you're living with the connection to the root and expressing the best you can, whatever comes is the way it is. And that, to me, may be the solution or resolution coming out of this experience. We cannot control external event, even internal issue may not be easy to handle, but that's what it is, impermanence. But even given that situation, like the tree, the branches, the bird, the nature, and how the things manifest, and we have the same source within us, and if you remember, not in the mind, but if you are connected to that, as Okamura-san mentioned, one little added image I remember her saying is that when she noticed Daisetsu living with him, helping him, she may have seen him sitting in his chair and relaxed. And her expression, I remember, was that Daisetsu looked very relaxed, peaceful, and the muscles relaxed, breathing quietly. I think that's the natural state of his being. And if we can connect to that in our own being, that may be a state of being liberated, but not caught up in the mind, and be natural to the way things are, and help us to know how we may be able to live. Eventually, each of us may die. The connection in the brain or the physical constraint may take over as a way of nature. And if we are prepared, also relating to nature, that's what it is. So that's just a little reflection of the time I had yesterday. I'm going to keep reminding this and resolving issues that pop up step at a time, moving forward. Thank you.